In this video, I'm going to show you how I invested £20,000 into the stock market. There are a lot of people that have savings, want to start investing, but they don't know what the actual process looks like, especially when you're starting with a lump sum. Today, I'll walk you through some of the options and considerations that I use to come to my final decision and how you can use that thinking to match your own investment goals with your personal circumstances. And with the financial year coming to an end and ISA allowances about to refresh in April, this video couldn't be more relevant. Before we get any further, I just want to remind you that nothing in this video is financial advice. This is just a real life demonstration that a close friend of mine has let me use. If you need any advice on your personal finances, please speak to a professional. Section 1, the groundwork. Okay, with that out of the way, let me lay the foundation so we have full context of someone wanting to invest £20,000. My friend is 30 years old and they've got to the very impressive position where they have £20,000 saved in a regular bank account. They have a young child and all the responsibilities that come with parenthood. They're not currently a homeowner and buying a house isn't something they're really focused on right now, but of course, things can change. And just like goals and strategies, investments can change too. That's often something people forget about. Their goal for this investment is long-term growth. So we're talking 10 years plus. Now this next point is very important. In fact, if you only take one thing away from this video, this is it. Make sure you have an emergency fund. And what is an emergency fund? It's simply a pot of money that you have that's easily accessible to cover unexpected costs. Trust me, once you've lived a few decades as an adult, something unexpected will happen. It's not if, it's when. My friend, who today's video is based off, has this cash buffer, emergency fund, contingency plan, grab bag, plan B, whatever you call it, just make sure you have it. Now this next point is equally important and it covers three main points, namely their risk tolerance, their temperament, and their general interest towards investing. So let's break that down. 1, they don't mind taking a certain level of risk because they want to maximize long-term growth and they don't plan on touching this money anytime soon. 2, in terms of their temperament, they're fairly resilient and that matters. If your portfolio drops 10 or 20%, are you going to panic or are you going to ride out the ups and downs knowing the long-term potential? And finally 3, they don't really have an interest in the stock market. They just want a simple, effective strategy and they're not really concerned about tracking the market day to day. Section 2, Junior Stocks and Shares ISA. I mentioned earlier that my friend has a young child and part of their plan is to put something in place for their future. This is something that a lot of people want to do, but very few actually act on. We always hear about compound interest and how amazing it is, but the key ingredient is time, and no one has more time than a child. I'll hopefully show this now. My friend opened a Junior Stocks and Shares ISA with Hargreaves Lansdown because it's commission free. They put £2,000 of their 20k inside of a global index fund. As I'm editing this video, I'll try and show you the exact product on screen. This is something that they'll drip feed into every month. It's probably the most amazing gift you can give to your child. Honestly, I'm kind of jealous. Section 3, opening a Stocks and Shares ISA. With the Junior ISA sorted, they have £18,000 left to invest. And since they don't have any existing investments, it makes perfect sense to open a Stocks and Shares ISA, especially because the £18,000 falls within the £20,000 annual allowance. And that means any growth is completely tax-free. We can see that here, and this is a brand new account, so I wanted to show you the interest on cash feature. When turning this on as a new investor, you get a full disclaimer including the interest rate and also how a portion of your uninvested cash will be put into qualifying money market funds. Section 4, investing strategies. Now when it comes to what to invest in, this is where things get personal. There's no one size fits all. It depends on your goals, your risk tolerance, and how involved you want to be. In my friend's case, they explored 3 different simple portfolio strategies. Each one was built around a diverse core with areas of flexibility or bits you can customize around it. We'll do this together inside of the Trading 212 app. We have to create a pie, and like I said, this is a new account, so we'll get the pie disclaimer pop up. In terms of investments, We're going to select the Vanguard FTSE All World ETF. We're then going to add the iShares Physical Gold ETF. And finally, we're just going to add Google here, and I'll explain more about that in a second. When we get to the allocation screen, we want the All World ETF making up the majority of the pie. So let's start it up to 90%. I'm not quite sure what I was doing here with the screen recording, but to balance the pie, we allocate 5% each to gold and Google. We then set this up as an auto investment, and you can adjust it depending on how you want to allocate your funds. More about that a bit later in the video. Let me explain the theory behind this portfolio. The majority of the money invested will be funneled into the global ETF, which will drive the majority of growth, especially with a 90% allocation. Having a 5% allocation to gold is just to act as a small hedge. Traditionally, gold has been seen as a safe haven asset, meaning that when markets are quite volatile, gold tends to hold its value, and at times it can even increase. Gold can also act as a psychological hedge, especially in market downturns. It can be quite disheartening to look at your portfolio and the whole screen is just red. Having an allocation to gold, even a small one, can give quite the mental uplift, seeing at least one of your assets holding its value or maybe even gaining when everything around it is just falling. And finally, the 5% allocation to Google we saw in the demo just represents a portion of the portfolio that you can have fun with. Perhaps you want a stock pick. It could be one company, it could be 10, but you know that's only ever going to make up 5% of the overall portfolio. If one of them works out, great. Perhaps you can rebalance and take some of the profit. And if it doesn't, it's not a big deal because it's only a 5% allocation and it's not going to make or break your investment. Okay, let's move on to the second strategy now. Again, we'll jump into the Trading 212 Pie feature, but this time we'll search for two ETFs. The first is the Vanguard FTSE Developed World, and you can see that here. From the fund allocation, it has the usual big players making up the top 10 holdings. The sector breakdown is still largely made up of technology, and the country breakdown has almost 70% of the fund being concentrated in the United States. We'll add this to the pie and then go back and search for the Vanguard FTSE Emerging Markets ETF. I'm doing this by using the search bar at the top of the screen. We can scroll down, and if we look at the top 10 holdings here, it's made up from companies from China, Taiwan, and India. The sector spread still leans on tech, but the country spread is a little more diverse and most importantly, captures the emerging markets. Once we add this to the pie and go to the allocation, we still want the bulk of our investment going to the developed world. Let's set this at 90%, leaving a 10% allocation to emerging markets. The strategy with this portfolio is that it gives exposure to mid and large cap companies in the developed world, and these will largely drive the growth. Companies like Apple and Microsoft, or whatever the next big company is in the next 10 or 20 years. But having a small allocation to emerging markets means that if one of those companies experience exceptional growth, we would have invested in them in the early stages. As you can imagine, an emerging markets ETF is very volatile, but the potential reward may be worth the extra risk for some people. Also, having the two ETFs separate gives you a little more control in terms of how or where you want your money invested if you contribute every month. This is just hypothetical, but let's just say the markets are at an all-time high and you don't fancy paying a premium price for the large cap companies. You could perhaps dial your investments and contribute 15% towards emerging markets. Or on the other hand, if the market's experiencing some sort of correction or a crash, you may allocate 100% of your investments to the developed world. Again, this is not financial advice, but this is just a very basic example of how this portfolio can function. Okay, last one now, and this one's nice and simple. We're just going to look for the Vanguard FTSE All World, and I'll quickly scroll down and show you the fund allocation. The top 10 holdings look very similar to the developed world in the last example, again, still big into tech. And we can see the country allocation is slightly more diverse, but still heavily weighted towards the US. Not much to balance here as we only have one ETF in the pie, so we'll just set it to 100%, proceed through the screens, and for the purposes of this demonstration, we'll name this pie demo. And there you have it, job done. This is as simple as it gets. You're investing in the entire global market with one fund. No balancing, no complexity, no decisions. You're essentially betting on the entire world continuing to grow, innovate, and generate profit. Historically, the global market has returned between 7 and 10% on average per year over the long term. And while past performance isn't guaranteed, you can see why this approach is so popular. Section 5, lump sum versus dollar cost averaging. Now, the final and for some the most important part of investing a large sum of money is deciding how to actually get the money into the market. This topic definitely deserves its own video, and I'll make sure I'll get to that, but I'll just discuss two main methods: lump sum investing and dollar cost averaging. Lump sum investing is very straightforward. You just get the whole sum of money and put it into the market all at once. Simple as that. Dollar cost averaging is when you split that money up and you invest it gradually over time. So if you had £20,000 over 10 months, you'd invest £2,000 every month. So what are the pros and cons? Well, let's start with the numbers. Historically, studies, including research from Vanguard themselves, have shown that lump sum investing outperforms dollar cost averaging about 60 to 70% of the time. And the reason for that is very simple. Over time, markets tend to go up more than they go down. So the earlier you get your money into the market, the more chance it has to grow. However, let's just put stats to one side and think about the emotional side of investing. Even though I just told you that statistically it makes more sense to lump sum invest, how would you feel if you put in £20,000, then the next day the market dropped by 5 or 10%? If that's going to cause you emotional distress or to lose sleep, and I'd imagine for most people it probably will, then perhaps dollar cost averaging is a better way or a better strategy of entering the market. Remember this, with investing, the best strategy isn't necessarily the best one on paper. It's the one that you can stick with. Like I said, I'm going to do a video that's actually dedicated to this topic because there's a bit more to it than that. But ultimately, just pick a strategy that you feel comfortable with, and most importantly, just doesn't really stress you out. And with everything we've discussed, let me know in the comments below what your investing strategy would be. Are you more of a lump sum kind of investor? Or are you a bit more cautious and you prefer to dollar cost average into the market? Now, I'm not going to leave you hanging. Let me show you what my friend decided on. Like I said at the top of the video, they don't really have much interest in tracking the market. They just want an effective way to grow their money for the long term. And as you can see on screen right now, this strategy may look familiar to returning viewers that have been following my channel. With the tax year coming to an end, make sure you're making the most of your ISA allowance if you can. And if you're using Trading 212 and want to learn 17 tips that most people miss, then check out this video. And on that note, I'll catch you in the next one, guys.